I'm going to tell you something tonight. God's going to set you free. Those are the ghosts. My friend, this is what I'm talking about. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. If God be for me, who can be against me?
Oh my gosh.
What's up?
I cannot believe what's about to happen, Jay.
What's going on?
Dude, we've got a special guest today that I can't even believe we're sitting with him,
right?
Dude. We're in his presence right now. I'm so excited to introduce him, but before we do, I got to stick to the agenda, bro.
You got to stick to it.
I got to stick to the agenda. And
here we go.
Listen, man, I'm not going to even, people know, the listeners know what segment this is, so we're just going to start right.
Let's go.
What's going on, Jay? Have you stepped into your purpose? What's going on, Jay? Tell me what's up, cosmic worship.
Oh, it's time.
Yeah.
It's time. Dude, we got so much to talk about with you.
Marvin Graham.
And listen, I'm just going to say this right off the bat.
There you go.
The things I'm about to share, I don't want it to go to your soul, and I don't want you leaving here feeling just, second guessing yourself and your purpose in life and all that. But
I got you.
Listen, man, we got to talk man to man for a second, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, me and Josh, I met up with Josh at Six Flags over Texas here, and I said, Josh, let's go link up, man. I got a season pass. You told me you had a season pass.
Yes, I
and
did.
your wife Courtney. So I said, let's link up with some other friends. And I'm on my way, and I get a text from you that says, dude, I really don't do scary rides or something like that.
At all.
Tall ride, yeah. At all. And so I'm thinking, okay, no problem. We'll hit some moderate rides, and it'll be fun. Well, guys, I get there, and I say, well, let's meet at the Titan.
The ride.
The Titan is the scariest ride there. As I pull up to the Titan, I see Josh. He's looking like a kid that's like 5 years old that's lost his parents.
I was like, huh? Which one is
the ultimate fear, dude? Looking at the giant and the Titan left and right, and you look shook already. And I thought to myself, surely he can't be one of them. That's just like
I was one of them. I am.
You are one of them. So long story short, dude, we try to get you on like the Diablo, which is that circle one that just goes circle. It's not even that bad.
The announcer was a demon voice, brother. I'm not getting on that. That's not what we're here for.
Dude, we go there. My little girl, she's 10. She's going on it. There's little kids lined up to go on it. Nope. I turned your wife, Courtney, and said, Courtney, what do you think? And you looked at her and you said, pull up the YouTube video. And
you wanted a tutorial of somebody doing it.
You wanted to research it, and you had the app out, and it was rated. And
we did Disney World the same exact way.
You skipped that one, bro. And so you said, you know what? There's a lot of people around pushing you, pressuring you.
I was gonna ride something.
Yeah, and so I was like, all right. And you turned around and you said, I'll go on that one.
Give me the pirate boat. That's what I said. Give me the pirate boat. Let's do it. Don't ask no questions. I'm gonna turn it down.
Yeah, so we hit the pirate boat. And we're in line,
BB.
and I could tell you're a little bit jittery. I'm thinking, okay, he's just one of them. He's gonna chill out eventually. Okay, so we get on. I think the first warning sign was you went into the middle of the boat,
Straight in the middle,
just straight in the middle, and you wouldn't sit down.
Centrifugal force. That's what it's called.
You wouldn't sit down until your wife Courtney.
Until she got in there. She had to put my backpack because I always got a backpack. Boom.
So you stood until she actually sat down.
I was like, hey, where you going? Putting it up? I'll wait on you.
Yeah.
Guess what? You coming back?
So I knew something was up. So right away, I'm thinking, okay, get myself in a shot where I can videotape this. So I went up like 2-3 rows, and I put the phone right here on my chest, and we just started to rock. I'm talking
that's all it takes.
A baby rock.
That sweet baby rock is what it was. That's what it was.
It was the smallest rock. I mean, you when you drive and you go over a bump or a hill, it's more G-force than what that was first creating. You tilted your head back like you were slain in the spirit, and you started.
He's a good father. You know what I'm saying? Look up. I look up to the heavens.
You started to beller out some praise.
Hey.
And I was like, oh my gosh. So we keep going and it keeps escalating. The only way I can explain it, guys, is like, if you ever have somebody at church that's like gets out of hand and they get filled with the Spirit a little too much and the ushers are trying to quiet them down, like, that's okay. But
You got the blankets ready.
That's what it was like. But I tell you what, once you got off and I realized that you had literally like an issue, a serious phobia. I've never met anybody who's scared of heights, bro.
Hey, man.
But what was funny is before you got on the ride, he was singing, my fear
Doesn't stand a chance.
But I gotta give you credit, man. Listen, and so we told P, our drummer, we told some friends, we said, bro, P's like, we're gonna go together. And so, guys, send him some love on DM on Instagram, and just tell him, man, you can do this, dude.
Do it. 10 years.
We're gonna
give me 10 years.
Give you 10 years, baby steps from the boat. What's the next ride then?
Teacups.
Teacups.
Be probably the
Swings?
next thing.
All right, dude. Well, listen. Kudos to you for at least going, right? I don't know why you bought a season pass, but kudos to you.
Oh, my wife bought that.
Your wife bought
She
it.
told you she kidnapped me. She put a blindfold on me. So I got a surprise for you. And we drove 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And we were there.
But
And I was like, oh, this is what the surprise is? You waste time because we're going back home. Nah, but we went. I rode the boat that time too.
Yeah. So, dude, you went to Disneyland, and my wife was telling me that Courtney told you that you were going on, was it Splash Mountain?
Splash Mountain, 50-foot drop in water.
But you didn't know that.
Oh, I had to build myself up. So I can build up to the fear, which comes to my help. So I had to do a runaway train ride first. I had to watch the video, do that ride. And then I went to the restroom. I said, let me use the restroom. I just went to go look at the video. I didn't want her to know I was watching the video. Mm-hmm. I came back. I was like, let's do it. She was like, you sure? I know you're nervous. I said, don't ask no more questions or I'm going to turn around. Let's do it. So the ride started off nice and smooth, and it was fun. They had little animals on it. I knew the drop was coming at some point, and they had little small drops to trick you. And the animals like, ding, 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 like hillbilly animals. And then all of a sudden, when we get closer to the end, it was like, ding, 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 ding. The heads were spinning. I was like, the head's fangs now. I was like, oh my God, this is about to happen. And I'll post a picture one day.
Okay, but Anna said that when you got to the top, you thought it was over.
I thought it was over.
And then as you knew it was about to drop, your wife said that you screamed out, they lied.
Yep, they lied. They lied to me. I didn't know it was going to be like this.
And then you said you tried to brace yourself.
I created a force field. Like I was pushing forward, leaning back, tilt to the side. I thought that was enough. I felt every bit of that.
Oh my gosh, we got to post that on our Instagram because literally you thought you were cool, but it looked like you were
turning Super Saiyan, brother. I was Super Saiyan 3.
Oh my gosh, you was right. Okay, we're gonna pray fast that God delivers you from that, bro.
Man.
All right, man. So moving along. I'm glad things are going well for you, bro, and your music's going good. This is, I don't know, the 6th podcast, something like that, 7th.
30th,
and
number 30.
Hey, listen, Happy New Year, everybody that's listening to this.
Happy New Year.
And 2020, my gosh. And I couldn't think of a better people, because I got 2 amazing guests here. I couldn't think of better guests to have on to kick this new year off right. So the first person I'm going to introduce here is my brother-in-law, Luke Huch. And I just want to say, Luke, go ahead and, you know what? Let's just go ahead and introduce yourself. What do you do, buddy? And before you do that, let's just give a hand clap to you here. So you're thinking about...
Keep those going.
So aside from MMA and just full combat sports, what are you up to?
Beating people up.
But you're a pastor, though.
It doesn't matter.
That's how I got here.
My mom's in the room.
Your mom is in the room, and we all have my wife.
She's co-witnessing.
This is a family affair. Now, let me just say something about Luke. Luke is an
Not true.
False.
Luke is an amazing all-around talented person, super gifted. Him and I have been playing music since, I don't know, since he was 16 and I was like 20, and Luke was wearing his wife beater tank top in his dad's barn, rocking out to drums, and these guys. And we've been playing music ever since. We've both been pursuing ministry, and Luke has grown and grown and grown. He has an amazing wife, Jen Huch. He has a little boy, Lion, and we're not going to go into that right now. That has to be a whole separate podcast just about Lion, because it is one of the most incredible stories you're going to hear. I promise you that. So stay tuned for that in the future. But Luke is also pretty much like a head pastor at our church. His dad, Larry Huch, I call him Saba. That's Hebrew for father, and we all do. But he's basically in charge of things, and he's doing an amazing job on what he's doing. Plus, he's a dad. Plus, he's doing music. Plus, he's an amazing uncle. Plus, he's just a whole mess of things with a humble heart, a huge heart, and we love him. And I promise you, next to Josh, there's like a handful of people that I know. There's Josh, Dave Ressinger, maybe my brother, and then Luke Huch is the only person that can make me laugh to where I lay on the floor paralyzed with laughter and I cannot move. So he is amazing. Luke, thank you for being with us, bro.
Thanks, man. Good to be here.
Good to be here. And moving on over to my left, oh my gosh, this guy just reeks of just style and fashion and just pure talent.
I was waiting to see what shoes he was gonna wear.
I know, man.
Good job,
It's just,
brother. Good
you guys,
job.
I cannot believe this. This is just, I'm honored. Podcast listeners out there, I don't even know what to say, man. But gosh, we got all the way from North Carolina. North Carolina, we got the one and only, the amazing. Oop, that ain't it. That's the wrong pad. That'll be an edit. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from North Carolina, we got the amazing, I'm telling you, he just floated in here right now, the Mr. One and Only, Dante Bowe.
He's flying.
What's up?
Oh my gosh, bro. You're in Dallas, man.
I know, man. All the way from North Carolina. Well, from North Carolina, but I live in Georgia, so.
You live in Georgia, that's right.
Yep.
Whereabouts in Georgia?
Columbus, Georgia.
Columbus, Georgia. Man, Jay, have you been to Georgia? You been in Atlanta?
Nope, just Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Pinky Promise, Heather Lindsay, shout out.
Oh my gosh. No, Josh.
Pinky Promise, the women's conference?
Yeah, we sang that for the last 5 years.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm not a member.
I'm just gonna say this right off the bat, bro. When people hear you, your voice is so distinct. Now, we were talking the other day, you're like, and I think the perfect word that describes your voice is husky.
Yeah.
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. It's a masculine voice. It's a voice that you're like, yep, that's Dante. And who has that voice in your family? Where'd you get that?
All the men in my family. Then, like, to be honest, no shade, but like all the women do.
Come your grandmother hug, boy.
Like, we all have like really deep voices, husky voices. So yeah.
Man, it's always been that way.
Always been that way. Honestly, when I was a kid though, my voice was super high. And I used to be embarrassed about it. So
I still got time for mine to drop. I mean, that's really good to know because like
Yeah, the voice is incredible, man. And what I noticed, you were singing at New Beginnings, our church, the other day, and I noticed, like, because I've tried to sing a couple of your songs, and I thought, well, he's got a low tenor kind of baritone voice. Surely I could probably sing that. And I sang it. I'm like, and you go an octave up on a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, oh snap, he's got range.
Yep.
Like, no, don't let the voice fool you.
you know?
Yeah, for real, because it goes up and you make it look pretty effortless. And so I'm jealous, bro.
Dude, I don't know. I just feel like you choose a good key and then it seems like it's high, you know? I feel like it's not that high. I just feel like I choose a good key. But if you're saying it's high, I'll just take that.
Yeah,
as a
no,
compliment.
I think it is. It's not like, crazy alto like a Leland or something like that.
But it's still like a little challenge.
It's a challenge, yeah. And it's like if you're singing in the morning, you're like, oh shoot, I need to drop that half step.
Yeah, me too, though.
Really?
Like, you record these songs in, like, the key you love, then live, you can never do them.
Yeah.
So I have to, like, drop the keys a lot of
Yeah,
times.
I remember the last time
my champion.
I remember the last time you came, you were doing some vocal warm-ups with Taiwan in the back, your MD. And you looked at like, man, I don't want to do these right now.
I hate vocal warm-ups.
But he was making you do them.
Yeah, I actually quit like doing, I was actually getting trained just in some vocal stuff lately.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up just like bailing at last, just stopped going.
Yeah.
She's been like texting me, calling me.
Yeah.
Like for the last few
Hey, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'm just like, I hate them so much. I just like disappear.
Dude, okay, so I'm not a fan of vocal coaching, but I've never had it done.
Yeah.
Dude.
But Luke swears by it because I remember you said that who was giving you vocal lessons?
My buddy Ryan Edgar.
Ooh, Ryan Edgar. Now he's got a voice. Mm-hmm. And so when you did it, could you tell a difference?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was dope. It's expensive. I did it for like a year.
Really?
I was in band practice with my band. And one of my guys was like, have you ever thought about vocal lessons? I was like, well, I will.
Thanks, buddy.
Every night from now on. So I got into them. And it was just super helpful for me as a vocalist because I'd never had them. I just didn't know if I was singing correctly or incorrectly.
Right.
So that was the best thing for me was just to have confirmations about the way that I was singing, and to be able to ask questions and I'd be like, is that right? And be like, yeah, that's right. Or no, you're not doing that right. Do it like this. So yeah, it was huge. But you think about it, like you hear about it, even this guy,
right.
They still want him to take vocal lessons. I mean, Adele will still take vocal lessons. I think it's awesome.
Right.
It is awesome, yeah. I just hate it. Makes me feel vulnerable.
You told me that you really didn't start singing until like you were like 13 or something like that. Did I get that right?
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess I've always like sang in the shower or around the house, but like 13, I started taking it serious and just felt like, oh, I got like a little voice.
Did you have a passion to sing prior to that?
Not really. I mean, I kind of just was just a regular kid,
Like what were you into as a kid?
I played a lot of basketball. I was a country kid, so just anything outdoors.
Stickball. Like,
yeah, like literally anything. We had a trampoline, so I was on that every day, all day. Kickball, like
that's fine.
mud pies. No, I'm joking. But like,
But we didn't want to bring the basketball goal in the front yard. We would shoot it on top of the trash can, and that's the point.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like, and then like later started actually singing and felt like, okay, maybe I can kind of do this too.
Nice. Now I know Luke, a lot of him and his sisters, their entertainment when they grew up pretty poor, and their entertainment. I don't even know what the rules are to this.
Here we go.
But literally, it was called "Kick the Can."
Sounds exciting.
Oh, it's a
No,
real game.
that's not
Kick
true.
the cane.
Oh, kick the cane.
Oh, this is next level.
Kick
This
the
is
cane.
second level.
It's no.
So is this an Australian thing or like?
No, this was a no money thing.
Wait a minute. Did you make this game?
Yes.
Oh.
I think my dad had gotten injured somehow, and he bought like a Walmart cane, and it was just around the house. And next thing I know, me and my sisters are just trying to kick the cane like as many times as we can while holding it, and it just became kick the cane, and that was our entertainment.
Oh,
that's crazy.
my gosh.
Wow.
What about you, Jay? You got to have some Lake Charles
Some
something
random
going on.
Well, like I said, the basketball thing that just came out of the laziness, not want to bring the basketball goal from the backyard to the front yard, backyard to the front yard.
Oh my
It was like, bro,
gosh.
when you bring the trash to the front, we'll just play trash ball.
Yeah.
And it was literally the trash can is closed, and if you shoot the ball and it hits the middle of the trash can top, that's your point. And
That stuff is so fun though. Like when you make up your own games as a kid, like your boys are 15?
15, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that from like 12 to 15, going outside. Like a lot of kids don't have that these days.
No way, yeah.
And you just make your own stuff up. Use your imagination, go off into the woods. I'd just be gone.
basketball
forever.
goal. Basketball
Yeah,
goal
same.
by the trampoline.
Yeah.
You did that one?
No, we didn't have a trampoline.
All right, happy birthday to you.
But we'd rollerblade out in the front and play hockey. Use the mailbox as a goal.
You can still rollerblade? Can you
Yeah.
still?
Oh, can I still rollerblade?
I could always rollerblade, but I couldn't do the 4-wheel one. I don't know. if
The
that's
roller
what-
skates.
Yeah.
Man, I would not get on that type of stuff
I do all of
these
that.
days.
Yeah.
I do all of it, yeah.
Now,
Yeah, still.
Oh man,
Actually,
Brandon went
just
ice
went.
skating the other day.
Yeah, I looked really tight doing that. That was cool.
I don't know about the ice.
I thought I was going like so smooth and fast, and then when I saw a video that my son took, I was like, I look like a cripple.
Knock me in.
So not only singing, bro, but what I love about you is a couple things I love about you, and you also kind of get your dance on up there, and it's like a freedom thing. Yeah. And I'll just say this: a lot of people in Bethel do that, but they don't do it like you.
Yeah,
you have your own little swag that you do, and you were doing it the other night. And what I really especially like about you is it's not just a bunch of hype, and you're trying to get everybody to do what you're doing, but you actually said. You kind of slowed it down. You said, "Listen, you know, we're gonna get free, and I want you to dance for the Lord, this and that." And you said, "And your style may not look like me."
Yeah.
And you kind of like encourage people to just be themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's when I knew you're an amazing worship leader.
Oh man, thanks.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I felt like I could cut a rug, so I just started to look at Josh, and we just grabbed each other, and we just started rocking back and forth,
Did our
and
thing.
we did what you said.
it was weird.
He had my hips. I don't know.
No, but I admire that about you, and I admire what I get from you. And I'm not trying to be like what I feel spiritually.
Yeah,
from,
no.
But I am kind of. And I feel like you challenge people, and I saw it when you challenge people to do that. Like, let's do something, and not just do the mundane. Let's challenge ourselves in what we're doing, and expect things to happen instead of just settling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Settling for the norm. And I think that's something very special about you and your heart and what you carry. It comes out in your songs. It comes out in your delivery. And you said that we were talking the other day a little bit, and just the history. Tell us about like the beginnings of your faith, bro. Because I think that people would want to know. We know you're a great songwriter. You're an amazing artist. You're a humble guy. You have all these things, but your faith, where did it start, and where did it start gaining its momentum until now?
Yeah, I was always. I mean, my grandparents were devout Christians, and I mean, they loved the Lord, and so I was kind of just raised a Christian. I don't ever remember having like that altar call moment. Mm-hmm. I just felt like I was always in a church. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But fast forward to 16. I felt as though, you know, yeah, I'm a Christian, but I'm not experiencing the Lord. I've never felt him. I don't feel like I've ever had like an encounter with him. And I started just asking a bunch of questions. And then also, you know, being in high school, you're living like two different lives. Like you're church boy, but then like in school, like you're getting into girls and you're getting into like, you know, wanting affirmation from people.
Identity,
and identity issues. And then like you're struggling and like, I don't know. I felt as though like, man, I need something different. Like I go to church, but I need something real, like tangible. I want to know if God is real. So anyway, put a CD on in my my room, started worshiping the Lord.
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was
Lil Wayne Carter 3.
Yeah. it was actually Kiera Sheard Free.
Oh man, that one hit me.
I mean, it was the
Still.
entire album,
Yeah.
but that was the actual song that was playing when I had my encounter with the Lord. And I just remember like crying. And I was like I was super hard. Like I never cry. So I just started crying. And once it started, you know, like it's like that boo-hoo, like, like, you know what I mean? And like, dude, I mean, I woke up the next day, but I remember like that encounter and I was like filled with the Holy Spirit. And I remember just feeling like different the next day, like physically feeling different. And that was the day I like started serving the Lord, not for my grandparents or anything like that, but that was actually like my
How old were you then?
16. Yeah.
So you go back to high school, you have this encounter.
Go back to high school, man, I was like in the library, like leading people to Christ, dude. I joined the gospel choir. I used to like record a lot of like R&B music and not saying there's anything wrong with that, but like I started actually like considering like, okay, this is like the beginning of my, I guess, career. Cause I was considering like, what if I just write some Christian songs? You know, I didn't even know much about Jesus. I mean, other than the cliches you hear growing up, but like I had never like actually dug in the word, you know, on my own. So that's when I started writing songs. And actually, one of the songs I wrote at 16 was on my last album 3 years ago that I put out 3 years ago.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a song called "Living You," and I wrote that like when I was 16 years old. Yeah.
That songwriting just comes natural. It's just
I don't know, man. I feel like we all write songs, right? Like this conversation is a song. It's just up to you to like put melody to it and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but we're all thinking all the time, and we're all like I don't know, having all these different conversations and stuff like that. I think it's just up to us to kind of, especially as creatives, if you're a singer songwriter, to just not take for granted any conversation or anything you actually hear.
already got 3 songs ready just from this first 5
Yeah,
minutes.
dude. You know what I mean?
I was thinking when you're saying you put it in a CD in your room. I mean, I'm a little bit older than you.
So when I put the record on,
Yeah. No, but I was thinking about Luke too. And I remember growing up, Luke used to, I think he used to sit there as the radio was playing with a tape deck, like recorder, and had to hit play and make actual mixtapes.
Yes. Yeah, when I was little, I became like obsessed with music. I think I get it from like my parents. They really loved music.
Yeah, your dad does. Yeah,
he loves.
And
my
mom.
dad loves music. My dad can actually sing a bit. My mom can sing. But again, going back to having no money, what we would do is we would garage sale. And so I began to collect like boom boxes. You remember when boom boxes only came in silver?
Yeah. For like 20 years.
Yeah, you could take the speakers off.
Right.
And so I would just find these things for like $5 a piece at a garage sale, and I would just stack them in my room, and I would tune them all to different radio stations.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, time out. Time out. So
A system.
You had a system back then. This whole time, okay, if you don't know about my brother-in-law, he is system orientated. And nowadays I'm like, it's evident because he's so organized in his house and everything he does, his music gear, there's a system, and if it's not a system, well then it's not done right.
Right.
But I didn't know. I thought it was one player, but you had several to different stations.
Oh no, I stacked them, and then I would tune them to different stations. And I can remember like the first type. My parents were listening to classic rock and probably country. But I remember the first music outside of what they showed me, I fell in love with was oldies. So I don't even know if they like use that terminology, but it was music that, oldies was like the Supremes and that kind of stuff.
Oldies but goodies.
Yeah, and it was the oldie station, and it'd be like Elvis and all these just, really old music. And I loved it. So I'd have a station on oldies, I'd have something on like, pop radio and on country, and then I would sleep on the floor. For whatever reason, I slept on the floor until I was probably a senior in high school.
Oh, wow.
Now, that was not because we didn't have any money. I did have a mattress. Actually, it was because I was a skinny kid, and so I liked to sleep next to the heater on the floor. That's how that came, and then I just got used to it. But yeah, every night I would just have a recording tape, a white recording tape, a blank tape in there. And as soon as a song came on, I just like hit that record. And then I would just create these tapes of all these different songs.
Right, which probably really gave you a good ear because you're listening to tons of music.
Oh yeah, I was obsessed with it. I was just like, I really was obsessed with it. I just couldn't believe how cool all these different songs were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's crazy because hearing you say that, because that's not my music era. It's like right before it.
Right.
And it's just like, I used to take the tapes.
Yeah.
But I would, if you put a piece of paper in the bottom of an already recorded tape, you
right,
can record over it.
Yeah.
So that's how I started recording my first music. I put that in there, hit play record, put headphones in the mic jack.
Yeah.
And you could sing in one side of the, and that's how I started. So it's like a different.
I did that too. I first would try to record over, you'd have like I'm remembering now. So I'd have two of my boom boxes, and I'd have an instrumental playing into the other one, and then I would like record in the other one, and so it would be hearing because I'd have a mic plugged in. It would be hearing it play from, and just the quality just got lower and lower.
Question. Were these labeled?
Of course.
That's awesome. So I see a pattern developing, Josh. I see something happening because in my own life too, as a kid, I remember we moved from Phoenix, Arizona to Vancouver, Washington, and I was just becoming a freshman. We were helping another pastor with a church in a elementary school, so we had to set up the chairs and then tear them down. There was an overhead projector, this and that. And I was just being a kid, messing around. But I remember one specific worship set, and it was just a little, probably 50 people in the church. I remember I decided to sing to the song. Like, I don't know if the song itself and the lyrics and the melody grabbed my heart, or if I just said, you know what, I'm going to sing this song. It compelled me to be involved with the song, and I started to sing it. And I remember I started to feel something happen to me as I sang it differently, and now I know it was the Spirit of God, like getting a hold of me. And I started to shake and tremble, and I started to cry, kind of like it was overtaking me. And I didn't know what was going down. I'm 14 at the time, and then I remember turning around to one of my parents' friends. He was like this guy's name was Ralph Hutchinson. He was this big guy, and he worked on the railroad. He had like missing fingers from dynamite and stuff. And he just grabbed me, put his arms around me, and he's like rubbing back. That's just the Lord touching you, Brandon. And I just remember like sobbing in his arms. And then I went off and was a kid and messing around again. Yeah. But I remember that moment when something transpired. In the same way, Dante, when you're talking about being in your room and you just decided, I want something more, and you begin to. This is what I feel like God telling me in my spirit, dropped in my spirit today, is that you mentioned, I think it was the woman with the issue of blood. You mentioned it in our service the other day. I think it's out of the Gospel of Luke, maybe chapter 8, I think. And she reaches out and touches Rabbi Jesus' tallit, the hem of his garment. And he said, something left from me. So, who touched me? Nobody touched me. We all know the story. But I thought of that, man, and I thought of the last time you were here, because this is your second time here in New Beginnings. But the first time you came, I had a chance to sing kind of with you, just beside you, and get to just see the gift and just play a small role in that. And in doing that, there's a lot of worshipers and a lot of music guests we have come in, and a lot of them are gifted and talented. And I told you this the other day, but I felt, it was like towards the end of the set, I felt, you got on your knees, I felt the presence of God.
Yeah.
Now, if for those of you guys listening to this podcast, you may think, because the essence of this podcast is called Dose of the Ghost, because it's all about the Holy Spirit. Not only, every Christian, I believe every believer needs to encounter Jesus, needs to encounter the Spirit of the living God, because that's what makes all the difference in the world. It turns from just something in your head to something real in your heart, like, oh my gosh, he's real, right? So when you were there worshiping, I felt the presence of the Lord, and it's not just an emotion. It gets inside of you. It's spirit and flesh, but there's a sense that you feel to it, like, oh yeah, here it is. Yeah. You had that. And some people call it the oil, who's got the oil on him, brother. But I felt it, man. And I said, and I walked away and I told some of my friends, man, this guy, something special about this guy. And I started to think about that. And I started to think, like, with the woman with the issue of blood, maybe when I told you that, you could have thought to yourself, well, I don't even know how I was that day. I don't know if I was singing right, what song I was singing, where I was at in my mind. Maybe it wasn't necessarily special to you, but for me, it was. Mm-hmm. So I began to think about the Holy Spirit, how he's at work all the time. Yeah. And he's not just at work when we think, well, when I'm leading and I'm singing, I have to feel something in order for the Spirit of God to work. But God is at work in every single one of us. When that woman came to Jesus and she pulled something from Jesus, the other people around him had opportunity as well, but the Spirit of God was moving in her. You know what I'm saying? And when I think about that, and I think about like songwriting, maybe some of the songs that we sing, like, and this is a little deep, sorry, I'm just kind of setting some foundation. Mm-hmm. Some of the songs that people write, maybe when they're writing them, they're not thinking, this is going to be like a revival song, or this is going to be something that really fills somebody with the Holy Spirit. Maybe they're just writing it in the room by themselves, and they think, that's a great song. but the song in itself, God uses it on its own to make that happen. You see what I'm saying? It's like free from us. It's his glory all the time at work.
Yeah.
Do you sense that, bro, when you're going from church to church and you're playing? How do you move around that? Have you?
Yeah. To me, I'm very intentional when I'm leading, when I'm singing. But I think it's more than that. I think I'm just aware. And I think the woman with the issue of blood was very aware. There was a lot of people around Jesus, but she had a sense of awareness. She knew who he was and what he had. And she didn't have like the fangirl thing happen, but she knew that this is actually the King of Kings and Lord of Lords in my presence. And if I don't get to him, then, I'll perish, or, whatever, my sickness will overtake me, whatever. So even like on stage, I'm very much aware of him and moving and looking in the people's eyes. You know what I mean? A lot of worship leaders would say like, oh, this is a dead church, or, oh, this is that. But I mean, I'm looking in people's eyes and I'm seeing Holy Spirit, or I'm on the ground, on my knees, and I'm just like in this space with Jesus, and he's like just telling me stuff, and I'm like just singing it out, and I hear the response of the people, like, and I'm just aware of it all. It's like my senses are crazy in that moment. So when you said like, oh, I left stage feeling like, oh, dude, I felt Jesus, I felt the Holy Spirit, I felt the same thing. Really, sometimes before people feel it, I feel it. You know what I mean? And in those moments, I'm trying to, figure out is not the right word, but I'm trying to figure out how to articulate what's happening in me. That way it can become tangible and it can manifest in a room, like physically.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. So, yeah, I don't even know if that answered that question, but I mean.
No, it does.
Yeah, I feel like it's more of a, just being aware of Jesus and his presence and the reality that we're living in, that he is here. You know what I mean? That he's not like this, far off God. And we're not singing to the air. We're not singing to the wind. We're not singing to the walls, but we're singing to he was an actual being. Jesus was an actual human. Yeah. And he walked. And
would you think that your personal life, your personal prayer time, is that something that you contribute, having that sense to that? My
personal, and even with prayer time and Devo time, I don't know if that's actually it. I think it's the everyday communion with the Lord. It's when I'm driving in the car and I'm aware. Like, I'm always aware. If I see an accident, it doesn't even have to be that dramatic. I could hear a song could come on, or I could see something that reminds me of him. He's in everything. He is everything. You know what I mean? All things were created by him. It can be, I remember like I was driving to Tennessee earlier this week on Monday to do the Ramp conference, and I'm looking outside and I talked to my friend. He was driving, and I'm like, dude, Jesus is amazing. Those moments come out when it's time to minister, when it's time to speak life into a friend, when it's time to, you know what I mean, fight for someone's, daughter, or any those small moments of communion start to manifest in your everyday life. But yeah, it's like, I feel like it's in my everyday life, my everyday walk, when I'm sleeping, you know what I mean? When I'm dreaming, when I wake up in the morning and I notice the sun rising. I named my album Dawn because of an encounter I had in my hotel room. I was actually asleep, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna let the sun wake me up this morning. I opened the blinds, and it actually happened, but it was like an alarm. And God spoke to me that, we're meant to be the light of and then like those that are coming after us will be awakened just like that, like I was to the light. You know what I mean? It was like an alarm, like an interruption in my sleep. But anyway, like just finding God in everything is important, especially like, dude, you're a dad, you know what I mean? For dads and moms and like pastors and people that just have real careers and real lives. Sometimes you're not like 4 hours in a closet locked away with your phone off when you have a 2-year-old running around. But it's like you have to learn to commune with him as if he's your husband or he's your wife. You know what I mean? It has to be like that kind of a relationship. So I think, anyway.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's what's happening on stage for me.
Yeah. I think that people listening to this podcast are going to be worship leaders, people that so when you see a church and you said some worship leaders will say, "Oh, this place is dead." My dad used to say, "I've been in churches so dead, rigor mortis set in." Yeah. You know say that. Yeah. But like you're in a place, how do you stay for worship leaders? How do you stay positive and how do you stay moving forward? And when do you know when to push and when do you know when to allow it to just rest?
It's love, man. I love people. Mm-hmm. When you love Jesus, you fall in love with Jesus, you fall in love with his people. So I'd never see someone as, oh, I want you to like stroke my ego. Mm-hmm. Like I see you if you are dry, mm-hmm. you know, if you are that, I see it and I'm so super compassionate. Like I feel this compassion mm-hmm. and I'm just like, Lord, you know what I mean? Like, whatever you're doing in me in this moment, I pray that somehow, some way, it turns that heart of stone into a heart of flesh. Mm-hmm. And it moves me. And my motivation when I'm leading worship is not the response of the radicals. It's not the response of the ones that know, the ones that are sure. It's really those, like, I'll see like 6 old ladies just sitting down in the back, you know, just enjoying it. And it brings joy to my heart. Yes. Or I'll see like, you know, teenagers, maybe they're not like up jumping or leaping, but they're just staring at me. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's all it takes. Yeah. I'm here as a messenger. I'm not here as a celebrity trying to get you to clap or reach your hand out for me from the bottom of the stage. Yeah. I'm just relaying a message and people are receptive. It's just they receive in different ways.
That's so good, man.
It's like in college, dude, you have those that are like me. And then you have those that are not like that, but they're making straight A's. You know what I mean? Like people are receiving in their own way. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the message of Jesus is so overwhelming and so like, it's kind of like hard to believe in the sense of like how amazing he is. You know what I mean? And how his love, you know, resurrected us and changed us and stuff. It's a lot to kind of digest.
It's like how people learn. People learn man. It's auditory. Instead, they receive information different
100%. Yeah. So I never go into a place that doesn't seem radical and say it's not radical. Mm-hmm. I always just remember that, you know, I was once that kid that was just absorbing everything. You know what I mean? At 16, just absorbing. I didn't know to jump. I didn't know to run around in the front. I didn't know to respond to the word of the Lord. Mm-hmm. I just knew, wow, this is awesome. Like, oh, this guy is great. You know what I mean? Yeah. But my appearance maybe didn't say that. You know what I mean? So I just started to love God's people and feel that compassion of heaven for them. And it keeps me from being offended at the dry church. Mm-hmm. I'm not offended if you're not on fire for God.
Right.
When I come to your church.
So not only are you aware of what the Lord is telling you, but you're aware of the people.
Yeah.
And I love that. It reminds me, when you're saying that, it reminds me of John 17, where Jesus is about to go to the cross, and it's kind of like his last prayer, and it's kind of 3 parts. He prays for himself.
Yeah.
Then he prays for his disciples, and then he prays for those who will hear the word of truth from his disciples. Mm-hmm. And the whole essence is, Father, that we may be as one. I and you and me, us and them, we may be one. And when you're leading, you're basically, it's not just you and the Lord and you're checking out and people are observing, but it's what I'm getting from you is it's you and the Lord, it's them, is a oneness to what you're doing. And in the middle of that is that humility of Jesus. I love it, man. Would you just stop talking? Because I'm tired of just getting jealous of everything you say, bro.
No, man. Like I don't have much to say.
I'm taking notes. I'm 5 songs in. No,
it's that's just what it is, man.
We had a gentleman on here on the last podcast. His name was Gene McGuire. He was in prison from the time he was 17 to the time he was like 52, something like that. 35 years. Incredible story. If you're listening to this, go back and listen to it. But he said something after being denied parole because he was kind of like, didn't really have right representation. He wasn't involved with what he did, but he got treated as like an adult as a minor. Anyway, I don't want to give the podcast away, but it's an amazing story. But he says something that I thought, I wrote it down today in the podcast. He says, God is attracted to 2 things. He's attracted to the brokenhearted, and he's attracted to gratefulness. And I was like,
Wow.
whoa.
Yep.
Whoa. Luke, I know, and I don't want to like die. Like I said, I want to save you your story for later. But
Okay.
when it comes to being like brokenhearted, but now like, yeah, but also being grateful.
Yeah.
You've had to juggle that mix. And I think that, I sense, I see it. What I'm excited about is I've seen over the past year and a half, you grow, you know, in a hard way. I wouldn't wish it on anyway, but it was a growth that you took on. And I also see when you preach now, it's like there's a gratefulness, and like a lot of times, like Luke, I've never seen him cry, but like he'll cry in a random staff meeting. He'll cry like if there's not the last Chick-fil-A sandwich is out.
There's the creamer. You told me to be creamer.
No, but he's got a real sensitive heart now, and he's grateful at the same time. I can't wait to see it come out in the music.
Yeah, bro.
Because I know it's everything God does is for the good, and dude, tell me about like how you feel now, feeling that maybe that brokenness, but feeling grateful. How has it affected you when it comes to songwriting?
The gratefulness. Okay, so I feel like I should preference it because I'm not sure if you mentioned what you're talking about, the gratefulness after coming through the situation with Lion.
Yes, and
Lion's our son. He's 2, so he was diagnosed with leukemia at 7 months. So he's a year and a half into his chemotherapy treatment plan, doing phenomenally.
He is
doing absolutely incredibly.
Yep.
He's huge. He's thick.
And he's an amazing drummer.
He's a drummer. So he's got 5 months of chemo left. So actually we were thinking about it. Jen mentioned it to me that New Year's Day was his 600th day. Since he, was diagnosed.
Little champion.
Yeah. So he's just beating all the odds.
He is.
And I won't, go into all of it because you want to save it. But yeah, he was diagnosed with leukemia at 7 months old, totally blindsided us, didn't expect any of it. He was given a 47% chance of survival based on the actual statistics of kids who are diagnosed with leukemia. There's less than 150 cases of infant leukemia diagnosed in the entire United States per year. So the chances of getting it are 1 in the tens and tens of millions. It's unbelievably rare. So you hear about kids getting leukemia. You don't hear about infants getting leukemia. It's just ridiculously rare. So he was given, I look at it as, when they told me 47%, I thought, okay, so I have a better chance of calling a coin in the air than he has of surviving. So he faced real challenges. We spent over 6 months living full time in the hospital.
Right.
And he's on chemotherapy 7 days a week for the last 600 days. So that changes your, life.
Right.
And it just, we had to go through a process of really filtering out all of, the doubts and the fears that forces you to be confronted with. But I'm going to tell you, like, I'm so excited about, where I feel like stories like Lions and stories like Olives are bringing the church as a whole to right now. Because Dante and I, have been talking about it for the past 3 days. There's been quite a few attacks on kids over the last, couple of years. And so, so far in any of those instances, we haven't seen a direct response to the prayers that we prayed for,
right?
Like the specific miracle released for the specific prayer. So like in Lion's case, we were, when he started getting sick, it took about 3 weeks to finally diagnose what he was actually having. And they start with this broad spectrum of tests and then narrow it down till they figured it out. We were fully believing, because we're people of faith, that when the doctors walked in, they were going to be like, oh, it was nothing. We don't know what it was, but it's gone. Well, that didn't happen. The worst case scenario happened. But we were praying that it was going to be nothing. It turned out to be the worst thing. But we still said, and we set a precedence when we let everybody know what was going on, that lion is healed, lion will live, and lion will thrive.
I remember that. And
So
you said that.
Yes,
Yeah.
I said that. So obviously, pastors of the church, with under my parents, we had to let everybody know what was going on because our lives completely took a, we were on a brand new path.
Right.
So we had to tell everybody. And I'm like, well, how do you tell everybody this? It's not only disappointing for us, it's disappointing to our church. And this is the kind of things that can make a lot of people have a lot of fears and doubts and can make people leave the faith.
Challenged and just
It can just crush your faith. And so, but this is, I talk about the military a lot. In the military, when you're in a surprise conflict that you weren't expecting, you rely on your training and you go with your training.
Yeah, that's good.
And so in that situation, I was like, look, I can't, it was a conscious choice. I can't base my actions or my faith on my circumstances. I have to base them on what I've been trained in. And my training is to believe still in the word of God.
Right.
And so you have to set a really positive precedence at the beginning. And a lot of people say, man, you were so inspiring and all this. And I'm glad, but I did want to be inspiring because I'm a pastor, I'm a leader. I want to set that example. But the main reason is because I needed to block the enemy from coming into the situation anymore. So I'm like, we're going to be positive. So when I had to let everybody know what was going on, we had hundreds, thousands of people praying for us. I had to just update on Facebook. But the first thing I said is, lion's healed, lion will live, and lion will thrive. That being said, here's what's up. Now we need to pray. But I set that precedence for positivity, and he beat all the odds. Mm-hmm. We're still in the journey. Mm-hmm. We've still got 5 months of it left, and then there's a long time after that where you're just checking on him and stuff. But even though our direct prayer wasn't answered in that we were praying that nothing would happen, our overall prayers that he would come through this, live and thrive, were answered exceedingly and abundantly above. He's in the 95th percentile, and all he eats is veggie sticks. He won't eat anything else because the chemo messes with his taste buds. Mm-hmm. So he's super particular. So he should be skinny. He should have this. He should have that. But he's healthy. He's incredibly happy. And so my point is that what I feel is going on like right now is that the church has gone to a new level. Dante and I have been talking about this. The church as a whole globally has gone to a new level in believing and seeing testimonies of people in leadership and in a spotlight stand in faith when they're going through a crazy situation like we went through with Lion, like Olive, and like the first boy, Jackson. And so where I landed was that I go, okay, this doesn't line up with any of my theology, but where I landed in my faith after just continuing to stay in the presence of God, even in the midst of the storm, was that God didn't do this to us, but he'll use it to do something through us and for us. Mm-hmm. And I used to say just through us. And then God corrected me, said, no, but I'm even going to do something for you. Mm-hmm. So that's what I believe is going on globally with the church right now, is that there's been some attacks on kids. We haven't seen the direct prayers answered, but what I feel is it's caused the church globally to just elevate in all of their lifestyle, in just how you function and where you operate from and what you believe is possible, and kind of set a new standard and a new default for when a kid gets sick. And I use the analogy that you hear preached a lot about, like breaking that mile run time.
Right.
And it's like, until one person broke the 4:30 mile, like nobody thought it was possible. Then when it gets broken, now everybody starts doing it.
Right.
That's what's happened with these families of ours who have stood to a new level of faith, where it's like, oh, these people in the spotlight stood. And even though we didn't see exactly the prayer answered, we saw elements of the prayer answered, and God did something in the church for it. And I believe has elevated the faith of everybody. And so that overall gets us closer to seeing the direct, and that's what I think is next. Mm-hmm. So our faith is now elevated, and that gets us closer to what I believe we're going to start to see next, is those direct prayers answers, where kids are, people are raised from the dead and stuff like that. So having come through all of that, and it takes time, and if anybody's out there gone through a crisis, it takes time to heal from that. You don't just you speak it. You have to guard your words. You have to speak positively. even when you're not feeling it on the inside. You have to do that. But eventually you actually do begin to feel joy. And then even though you never think any of it will make sense, God does begin to cause things to be revealed to you. And it doesn't put you in a position where you're happy that you went through it necessarily.
Right. Yeah.
But there are things that you gain from these chaotic crisis situations that you would never have gained otherwise.
Right.
Doesn't mean you ask for those things, but as a whole, God is doing something, and He'll do something through you in it. And so for me, from a gratitude standpoint, yeah, I'm way thankful, like, about just everything, if Lion's throwing his food on the floor, any of that kind of stuff, I laugh about it. It's just hilarious to me. He wakes up in the morning and he's just, and it's so happy, it's such a happy thing. And
what does he say to you when he wakes up? He grabs you and says,
he goes, I love you, Lion. And I keep trying to get him to say daddy. So I'll say it back to him and I go, no, Lion, say, I love you, daddy. And then his response is, why? So yeah, it shifts you to appreciating life in a whole different way. And I say for me, it is a platform that now I can operate from that not a lot of people can. And as a pastor, it is beneficial to have gone through something like that and to look somebody in the face and say, hey, not only do I sympathize with what you're going through, but I empathize. I understand what you feel like, and let me tell you how you can come through that. And so, yeah, it's empowering.
That's so good. Like Dante said, you can look at somebody in the eyes. You're not afraid to look at them in the eyes because you know what the Holy Spirit can do.
And it's so exciting to me that, and again, we don't want this, but it's exciting to me that the church is in a place right now where they're putting their faith on the line and risking it. Risk, because a lot of times leadership wants to function in a safe place because we don't want to embarrass ourselves or embarrass our God or anything like that. But I think, and I taught about this on Sunday, that God actually responds to people who say, hey, listen, I'm going to stand on your word. Now I need you. Right. And God, God wants not to be disrespected or anything like that, but He wants us to hold Him to His word.
Yeah. Right.
And I feel like I feel like that's kind of where the church is right now. Not in the sense of, God, if you don't do this, I'm leaving. But in the sense of, God, I'm willing to put all of my reputation, any potential embarrassment or whatever on the line, because I'm going to believe in your promises more than my circumstance.
Yeah,
I love it, bro. When I sit back and I just see. I mean, there were some things in my life, several past 10 years that I had to go through. I see it, and what you're saying is like, God, there's a master plan. You're doing something. You know what you're doing, and you're moving in a way. And I think that when He saw you, and he didn't do it to you, but I think maybe He allowed it because He knew who you were.
Yeah,
He knew. I know my son Luke.
Right.
I know that he can take that mantle and push that forward for the other people.
Right.
And I always feel like God believes in the product that He puts in you.
That's good.
He believes in it, like He stands by His product. He's like, there's a guarantee. Once it's in there, He knows. I remember the first time that for a lot of time, and I won't go into this heavy at all, just real quick, but I battled OCD for over a decade. And so I have, when it comes to people with severe anxiety and OCD and all that stuff, depression, I'm like, those are my people. In the same way that you have a heart for people,
right.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Now I come out of that and I'm able to identify with all different kinds of things, but that's kind of like my lesson, my story of where God has put me through. And I remember for a long time, I'd be up praying and feeling like God had His hands crossed, like He's watching me.
Right.
And I'm like, man. But at that moment of my very lowest, when I cried out, and then He's like, okay, that's for whatever reason, boom, He filled me with the Holy Ghost like I've never been before in my life, gave me a language, and all by myself. And I thought, man, why didn't you help me before? You know, why did you wait so long? And I just feel like he believes in the product that he puts in you. He knows his son in you. And when Jesus will just intercede for you, he'll cry out from within you. He knows, but the Lord's just got an amazing good plan for every single person. And we just have to do things like this podcast, to give people hope.
Right.
Like there's going to be people listening right now that are going to be like worship leaders that are feeling like down, feeling like, man, I'm tired. And just the words of wisdom that you're saying about being awoke, you know, waking up. And that's going to give them that little something to just tip the scale. With you, you're going to continue to bring people through the book that you're going to write, through the podcast you're going to start, through the songs you're going to write, through the pastors you're going to meet. That is going to be like a flood, you know?
Yep.
Hey guys, that was part 1 of our interview with Bethel Music's Dante Bowe. This interview was a little longer than normal, but it was such a cool episode. We wanted to go ahead and make a part 2 so you guys could listen to the entire conversation we had. Man, it was an incredible one. So be sure to check it out on the next episode. And as always, help us share this podcast, guys. It's really easy to do right from your phone. If you use Spotify, simply open the podcast and click on the 3 little dots next to the follow button. There you can share it to your Instagram stories, Facebook, all that good stuff. You know what to do. And if you happen to use Apple Podcast, it's a little more challenging. Just simply search for Dose of the Ghost on Apple Podcast and find an episode, screenshot it from your phone, and be sure to tag us on Instagram, Dose of the Ghost. Listen, we're pumped about this podcast and super excited about the future and all the amazing guests to come. We hope it's a blessing to you all. So enjoy the next episode, part 2 with Dante Bowe. Peace.